Howdy, partner, and welcome to TomHanksgiving. What's happening?
There's a switch.
Oh my god!
If you throw it, half the people...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Inferno teaser trailer! I didn't plan this! What's going on? Oh my god, let me put a stop to this real quick. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my apologies, please. Okay, so I'm your host, Elvis Kunesh. And today on the show, we're talking about the 2006 Ron Howard film, The Da Vinci Code, adapted from the Dan Brown novel of 2003, bestseller, all that good stuff. First, we did it in celebration of Paul Bettany being in Civil War. He's in this movie, so a little Civil War celebration tie-in. And also today, the day before this podcast drops, so this is Monday before now, the Inferno trailer dropped, and what you just heard just kind of was a little piece of that. Before we get to the episode, we're going to real quick talk about the teaser trailer for Inferno. So if you haven't seen that, go watch that really quickly, and then come back and we'll have our thoughts, and then we'll get into the Da Vinci Code. But Andy's here to join me. Yeah. Andy Green, and we literally just watched, and then it started to take over the intro here.
The virus is spreading.
Yes! Oh my god! Inferno! What did you think?
Tom Hanks, we always knew it. Humanity's last hope.
That's what they said! He's humanity's last hope! I'm freaking out! Like, we're not... I mean, I don't want to ruin this discussion, but, like, Da Vinci Code's like a little whatever. Holy shit, I'm into this movie! It does not seem like a Tom Hanks film.
Felicity Jones is in it.
Felicity Jones?
And
my crush, Tom Hanks?
The hair is gone.
He's got good hair. Wow, yeah. Better.
We see hell on his face in a...
yeah, it's got like Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like...
That's the Inferno in the title.
Right. It looks like a natural evolution of this Da Vinci. Granted, I still haven't seen Angels and Demons, and now that this is coming out of this trailer, I'm all for it.
Jump on there?
I'm going to jump on it. This does not change how I feel about Da Vinci Code in any way, but I am more interested in continuing this very bizarre series with because it kind of looks way more ballsy than the Da Vinci Code.
This seems way more action movie.
Yeah, there's a switch that will kill all of humanity. It seems like
half of humanity.
Yes.
Or all
everybody
of humanity
dies.
In 100 years. Sophie's Choice.
It is Sophie's Choice, and apparently it comes down to Tom Hanks. And I can't think of a better person to give that responsibility to.
I'd give him my life, and I'd put my life in his hands. My
life is almost always in his hands, because that's all I have, is Tom Hanks. That's not true. But I am very excited for Inferno, if only to discuss it, because again, you're going to hear about what my thoughts are on the Da Vinci Code. Any final thoughts on the teaser, Andy?
Ron Howard!
All right.
He's back.
He's back, and so is Hanks, and we'll be talking about that months from now. But we wanted to get a little trailer action. All right.
Best movie of the summer. You heard it here first.
It's in October, but okay.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for this little trailer upfront action. Let's get into the Da Vinci Code. So we're here today with Jacob Reed. Hello. Of Bangering at UCB and the Before You Were Funny podcast.
Yes, those are two things I'm proud to be associated with.
Well, great. I'm glad. I'm very happy to have you on.
The way I said that was like as if we had this whole conversation before where you're like, can I plug this? And I'm like, no, man, that's behind me. Can I plug this? No, I'm not really doing that anymore. Like, yeah, but those are the only two things we ever talked about.
A lot of shame in Jacob's past, apparently. Mm-hmm. And a lot of shame in our movie today, potentially. We're talking about the Da Vinci Code, and when I posed you to be on the show, this was kind of your number one choice.
Yeah, unequivocally, I wanted to do this movie, and I'm so glad that it was available. It feels like a movie that like should really only be watched on TV in the background and or like on a flight or something.
Well, I actually have a funny story about that, but I'll hold that for a minute.
I'll do respect to everyone who had anything to do with this movie, including Brian Grazer, who I had a real awkward moment with at my film school graduation.
Oh,
I forgot about that. Holy shit. I forgot he was involved in this movie.
Of course, he's Ron Howard's their best buds.
Of course. So I read the book for this my freshman year of college, which was 2003, 2004. So I was reading it, and I remember like that's when the book was like this phenomenon where like it was like bestseller. Everyone was reading it. It's not his first book, and it's not his first book with
Angels and
Robert
Demons
Langdon.
is like a prequel, correct?
Yeah.
Or maybe this is the
I think
prequel, but
it
that
was
came out first.
Angels and Demons, and then this, and then
The new one that's coming
something
out.
else, and then Inferno.
Inferno's coming out in October.
They're making the Inferno movie?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He got his hair cut too.
Well, thank God.
I know.
It's like is that his real hair?
It would not surprise me if it was a wig.
It would surprise me if it was not a wig. I feel like if it's not a wig, it's the most real hair has ever looked like a wig, like ever.
Well, the front definitely looks real. I don't know what's going on with the back.
I was reading it, and I was like a staunch defender when no one was attacking the book, but I was like, it's actually pretty good. And I will to this day say that Dan Brown books are actually pretty good if you need like beach reading, or I actually read Inferno maybe like a year ago. They're just like, I feel like they're like the adult versions of like Goosebumps, or like some kind of book where it's like
I can see
built
that.
to be a page turner.
Mm-hmm.
Every single chapter is like 6 pages and ends with like, and then there was a shadow, and you're like, well, what was the shadow? And you flip over to see it, and it's like, it was Monsieur whatever, and it's like, oh, that guy, all right, whatever. And then you keep reading, and then there's another, like every chapter ends with like a potential plot twist, and you have to, it's like a fun popcorny kind of page turner, which would make you think the movie would be too, but that's another story. The reason that I felt like I had to talk about this movie is that I'm a great admirer of Tom Hanks, and he's fine in this movie. This movie is just, it's so, I don't even know. I was going to say it's so bad, but it's not so bad, because I rewatched it, and I guess I just have a lot to say about it.
That's
why I
obviously.
wanted to talk about
That's
this.
good.
Sorry, that was the longest version of that answer I could have had.
No, because we got a lot to talk about with this movie. Because here's the thing, I'm gonna get into. I have kind of seen this movie before, but I'm gonna hold off on that for a little bit.
Okay.
But this is essentially the first time I've ever seen it front to back.
Oh, what a treat!
And I actually I went in with low expectations, but I kind of liked it. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was good, but I don't think it was that bad. Like, it was kind of a goofy, fun movie.
When you go in with low expectations, it's really fun. I also think that the first half to 2/3 is not bad. I rewatched it recently because I had to make something where like someone's figuring something out and symbols come off of something. And I was like, how did they do that? The reference I always had was Beautiful Mind, and I looked it up, and that's actually a really boring sequence. Again, apologies to Ron Howard.
He's taking it on the chin this podcast.
I think that Ron Howard is like the kind of director, and I haven't seen some of his earliest films, which are supposedly his best ones.
Splash.
I haven't seen Splash.
Splash is amazing.
I haven't seen Splash. I haven't seen Backdraft. He seems like a wonderful guy.
The Grinch.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
I like this movie more than The Grinch, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Although the aesthetic of The Grinch hangs together way more cohesively.
It's fun. Anyway, so I looked that up, and that was uninteresting, and so I was like, oh, in Da Vinci Code they do it. So I watched the whole movie just to see how they have like the scenes where
the
things are
graphics
glowing and coming off of things. And the first like 30, 45 minutes, I was blown away by how fun it was based on, like, compared to what I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of totally falls apart at the end.
I want to talk about the ending, and actually let's go ahead and start there.
Okay.
Because I kind of agree with you, and I don't know if it's maybe because, again, low expectations, and I just saw it, so I haven't had that time to be like, wait, no, that was stupid. Why do you think the ending, or the last fourth of the movie, as you were kind of saying earlier, does suffer, and it like screeches to a halt?
So the end is like they go to the castle and they find out that like that she's the offspring of Jesus, and it just feels like when you have a mystery, it's like the same page turner effect as like the book. You get excited about it and you're like, oh, it could be this, oh, what's it gonna be? And then when you actually find out what it is, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
And I also think it's weird that like I Do you think, is he the protagonist of this movie, or is she the protagonist?
When I was watching the movie, that was actually in my head. I was watching it, and it felt, to compare it to a much better film, it sort of felt like Mad Max Fury Road, where Tom Hanks, Robert Langdon, is the, like, not the protagonist, but he's our intro character. We're following him. He's maybe the audience surrogate, but it's actually her movie.
Yeah.
Because she's the one who finds out all the things. Obviously, she's the one who's the spawn of Jesus. She's in the bloodline. He doesn't really go through that many changes. He kind of gets over
He doesn't go through any change.
his claustrophobia thing, but that is again more of an effect of her potentially divine intervention.
I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was fine because that again I always thought like again you read the book, so
Yeah.
thank goodness you're the expert here. But it felt like his character makes more sense in a book. How did it work there? Was he the main character in the book?
Yeah, he's for sure the main character in the books, and each book he's kind of like a boring James Bond or like a boring Indiana Jones in a way. Like each book is like he kind of has like a romance with someone else, but it's like very tame.
Super happy that this was not played romantic for most of the movie.
Well, that's the other thing is the age difference is like weird. And honestly, that's another problem with it is like I would feel better about it if it was romantic the whole time or if it wasn't romantic.
Yeah, it doesn't feel sure-footed enough. But like what made me happy was the ending. It's like, are they gonna do the kiss? And they kind of half do it with a kiss on the forehead. I was like, I could have gone without that.
Yeah.
It felt very fatherly though, and that's kind of what I got from their relationship, or at least it's what I wanted it to be. But
I don't remember if they kissed in the book, but I feel like I could imagine that being like a Hanks thing where he's like, doesn't feel totally appropriate to kiss her on the lips. There's a significant age difference here. I don't know if that is something I want to push.
And Hanks isn't the kind of movie star we generally want to see that from. We want him to go for someone who's own age, a Meg Ryan or a Shelley Long.
Yeah.
This is sort of something I talked about in the Cloud Atlas podcast, where when you put Tom Hanks in a movie, he's a fantastic actor, and he's got a very big range, but I don't think he can do anything actor. He's good at everything, but he can't do anything in the sense, like, I think the closer you get to fantasy or science fiction, that's where he starts to falter, because he's so much a regular dude. And that's why he reads to me as, like, just this guy who's not the main character in this movie. He's just kind of along for the ride.
I mean, and I would have liked it more if he was just a guy who was, like, haplessly along for the ride.
Those were the best parts of this movie, I thought.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is that they kind of dilute her agency and make him... Because he's the one who brings him over to Magneto's house, and then that whole hour-long sequence starts.
Yeah, that's the first... what's that guy's name? T-Bing?
I don't know. I just call him...
The character's name is
Gandalf.
But yeah. McKellen's character. It just starts out feeling like a murder mystery and an adventure film and a heist, and it's in Europe, and it's like... It starts out fun.
I think the one thing that bothered me about the beginning was, like, the only thing that I was thinking about was, like, wait, why... I feel like this is happening very quickly. Like, she just showed up and knew immediately that they had to be set together. But, like, I was fine with it because it was fun. But, yeah, I think you're right that it just... Well, I think it suffers from, like, three kind of climaxes. Because there's the thing in the church where they break... the map, and Magneto gets arrested, and then oh wait, no, and then they find out where it is, and then she's gone, but then she finds her whole family.
What's his face? Cloves? Is this him? No, this is Akiva Goldsman.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? Steve Cloves?
I don't.
I think that's a guy. There's a guy who, like, every time a movie has, like, totally peters out in the third act, I'm like, oh, it's that same guy.
Not this guy this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's the Magneto ending, and then there's the family ending where they find her former place, and then he gets an ending, his own. Like, that's the only reason. Another reason why it's like, oh, is it Robert's movie? Because he has that last little bit where he finds out theoretically. Well, but the movie doesn't even leave it ambiguous, because we do see beneath the soil, and she's buried there. Right. When he finds where Mary Magdalene actually is buried, which I thought that was kind of neat, because it's like, oh, we introduce it in the first 5 minutes. But it was kind of neat in that, it's that neat reveal and not, like, actually meaningful.
Yeah, it feels like a movie that and I wish I remembered the book better because I'm curious how much it deviates, but it just feels like the kind of movie that got a lot of notes. Like there's like everyone, it just feels like it kind of goes an inch in a lot of different directions instead of like a mile in one direction. Plug for my favorite band, One Direction. That's a joke. I don't have anything against that.
Outro music
this
this week is going to be One Direction.
Shit.
I think the fundamental reason why this movie, again, I'm coming from the angle that I kind of liked it. I had a decent time. I don't hate it. I don't think it's that bad. I think there's been a lot worse. Cloud Atlas, but although in Cloud Atlas's defense, I feel like Cloud Atlas tried something more. This was just kind of safe.
Yeah,
it's very National Treasure.
I love National Treasure in comparison to this movie. Like if this, because National Treasure is not a great movie, but it just kind of owns up to what it is and has a good time. This feels like it starts doing that, and then it's like, well, it's got to be thinky also.
It gets very lofty, and I think that's maybe what, because like once the last real clue they find is the codex thing.
Yep.
And then the movie, there's no more clues, but we have at least 2 hours left of the movie. Because they got to go to Ian McKellen's house. He has to do that amazing South Park scene about the Easter Bunny. But the problem is, like, we don't find any more clues. We're stuck on that one clue. And I was like, this is taking so long. And, like, the information he provides once they finally get there, he could have told them that without the clue. It's not like they needed that.
Right.
So that always kind of bugged me. And then maybe the motivation's more clear on a second viewing for why he's doing this. I think the fundamental reason why this doesn't work as well as the book is, and as well as some other mystery movies, is because you can't solve the mystery with the characters. Like, I remember watching those scenes where he's, like, pulling out the acronyms and stuff, and it's like...
It's literally telling us, not showing us.
Yeah, you're watching him do the fun thing. Like, you can't...
Right.
It's like, it almost felt like it should be a puzzle game. Like, a video game would be a great adaptation for this.
Well, there's like that thing where they say about the difference between mystery and suspense, where mystery is when your characters know something that you don't. Suspense is when you know something that the characters don't.
Right, the bomb under the table.
Right, exactly. And so this movie is kind of like, it starts off kind of a mystery because some characters know something that we don't, but we don't know who those characters are. Like, it's just kind of, we are all in the dark about something. But then there's never any... I mean, I'm sure there's some scenes where, like, yeah, something happens suspenseful where we know about it a little bit before then. But, like, great mysteries seem to, and I wish I could think of examples right now, but seem to transition at about the halfway or two-thirds point where...
To suspense?
It's like great Hitchcock movies, like, start out a little mysterious, and then as the characters get into hot water, then we start putting it together before they do. And then the fun of it is watching them hang in peril while we have just a little bit more information than they do. Like, that's what makes it like, oh, like, that's what, like, when you want to yell at the screen, like, to get Grace Kelly out of the apartment in Rear Window. But in this movie, it's kind of like, we don't know anything. And then once we arrive at Sir Teabing, the first-rate performance by Sir Ian McKellen, according to the DVD.
We're going to talk about that, actually.
Yeah, I have some issues with that description of it. Not to just be snarky, but whatever. We'll come back to that. But yeah, then you get to that part where he outlines everything, and it isn't really suspenseful because you're either 100% in the dark or everything's really obvious.
I think, and we kind of said this earlier with how we don't know who the main character of the movie is. I think this is, again, a problem of, like, not making a strong decision in that it should either be, by the end of the movie, we know we're in suspense mode where we have more information on the characters and we're like, oh no, what's going to happen? Are they going to figure it out?
Yes.
Or they have to commit to, but they don't do that because they withhold information still till the very, very end.
Right.
But it's not in the fun playing it fair way where the audience can figure it out before the characters.
Right, or they treat you like you're super dumb, like the scene where they're landing the plane, and then the Jean Reno and all the or no, he's not in it.
He didn't show up.
It's
the London police.
The London police, exactly, come in, and they're like trying to get him out of there, and he acts like an old man. They're trying to get Ian McKellen out of the plane, and he acts like an old man. And then, as soon as that scene is over, when you're like, oh, I wonder how they did that. They go back. Have you ever seen the show Leverage?
Yeah, I was actually going to write, it was like the lamest Ocean's 11 trick.
Yes. So Leverage is a show on TNT that it's great for what it is. It's like lame Ocean's 11, but it's great. I like
every episode's a heist or something like that.
Every
right?
episode's a heist.
That's great.
And it's got a fun cast of all kind of second tier, less famous, not in terms of ability, less famous actors. But it's a TV show on TNT that's made fairly affordably, I imagine. And this scene in Da Vinci Code feels like an episode of that show, because what happens in every episode of that show is like something happens. It's like, well, how'd they do that? And then immediately after, they show you, here's how they did it. And like they just reveal the entire thing, and they literally do that as if it's like, as if it's Bad Ocean's 11 in this movie.
Yeah.
But this, like a second after, and those are parts about this movie I hate.
Again, where like the comparison to Leverage, that's a whole show where that's based around the gimmick. This is the one time they do that sort of thing,
right?
And I think they even use the same aesthetic like as the flashbacks for the people's memories, which is another thing I'm guessing would play a lot better in the book, because you have the pacing of a book where it's like, oh, we can just take a whole chapter out to transition into Audrey Tauto's memories and talk about the color of the flowers that will become important later.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of problems, but
I feel bad snarking on it too, because something I've been thinking about a lot recently is how it's hard to make things.
It's very hard.
It's really hard to make things.
I would be so proud if I made this.
Yeah, it's hard to make things that are bad. It's a lot of work and a lot of follow through to make things that are bad, and it's incredibly more so when things are decent, and it seems impossible to make anything good. Even like really talented people I know have been involved in a lot of stuff that doesn't represent their talent as well as it could maybe.
And rarely are the great things like any fun to make. So even if like you come out the other side, it's like that was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, so I think like I've just been thinking a lot about like I read this I forget the name of the guy, which is shitty. But the guy who wrote the whole thing about, in response to Huffington Post's takedown of Force Awakens. Have you read that?
I have not.
I'll try to find it and
I was not a huge fan of Force Awakens. I liked it.
Yeah.
Kind of about like the same with this movie.
Yeah, so I liked Force Awakens, but I went in real low expectations, and it didn't... My girlfriend's not a Star Wars person, really. I tried to get her to watch the 3 original movies before we saw Force Awakens, and like it didn't happen. Like that's to give you an idea.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have to watch them now.
Yeah. Well, so after Force Awakens, she was like, "Was it everything you hoped for?" And I was like, "Yeah, it didn't have to be amazing. It just had to not be terrible." And it wasn't terrible. It was really fun. But long story short, Huffington Post wrote this article that was like, everything wrong with The Force Awakens, or some semblance of that. And this guy wrote his review of The Force Awakens and instead just took down the Huffington Post article. And it was all about how we have this culture of snarkiness that like removes the joy from things. And I think that that's really true.
Yes, and they actually did the same thing. There was a takedown of the CinemaSins videos. Have you seen this?
I've seen the CinemaSins video. I haven't seen this takedown.
The takedown is great because it points out how glib most of the CinemaSins things are, and how I think much the same as this Huffington Post article must have been, is just it's based on taking the fun and meaning out of like a movie. And like, sure, a movie can be bad, but like these aren't the reasons it's bad. And
right.
By pointing out that was stupid, that's stupid, his hair is dumb, like that doesn't do anything for the discussion of the movie or getting better. And there's, even in the worst of movies, you can find something to learn from it. You can take something away from it. Even if that's just, maybe don't do this in your movie. But
or put Jean Reno in everything and more of him.
Yeah.
To me, he's like the best part of this whole movie.
He's great. I don't know if I'd say he's the best part. I mean, This is the Tom Hanksgiving podcast. But
Hanks is good.
Hanks is good. Let's move on to some
Okay.
performances. So let's talk about Hanks.
Yeah.
This feels like very much as a movie. It's I don't know. Did it come out in summer? I don't know. But the pulpy movie of the season.
Okay.
Everybody goes for
Yep.
the popcorn, and
Yep.
it's fun, and then you leave, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like his performance is like a step above that, but he's basically doing a workman performance here.
Okay.
He's
I would agree
not
with
putting
that.
his all into it, except for one or two scenes that I really enjoy. How do you feel about him?
Well, I kind of feel like he was miscast.
That is probably very true.
And
This doesn't feel like a Hanks movie.
it doesn't.
Or a Hanks role, probably because we don't know if he's the main character. I think
Right.
it's mostly an underwritten thing.
And even still, they're about to make the third one, which is crazy to me.
I'm excited just because this is going to be a fun journey to go down, whether it's good or it improves.
Do you know the plot of Inferno?
I don't know the plot of
It's-
that or Angels and Demons.
Angels and Demons is like kind of the same. I mean, the formula, like the movie plays out, or the book plays out the same as Da Vinci Code. It's just the twist at the end is like there's basically like it's not an atom bomb, but it's like a dark matter explosion that they explode the Vatican, and I think they actually do it at the end of Angels and Demons in the book. I don't remember. I don't think they do it in the movie. But I also could be totally wrong about that. I don't remember. But in Inferno, without spoiling it, the plot is like kind of the end of all civilization, but then you end up rooting for the guy who's trying to end civilization.
If they can pull that off, that sounds insane.
Yeah, that's
I want
why
to watch that movie.
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it's pretty dark, and reading it after reading these other Dan Brown books, I was like, whoa, this is crazy, and it does. It makes the argument for like insane population control.
Wow. I really want to see how Ron Howard tackles that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But okay, so Tom Hanks miscast. Yeah, I don't know who that should have been. I love Tom Hanks. I'd like to see him in almost anything. It just doesn't feel like. It just never felt like he was this character. Well, that's not true. It did feel like he was this character to me because he's good enough that like I believed that he was this guy, but this guy that he was playing, I didn't believe should have the adventure he was having.
No, yeah, I think that comes more down to less about his performance, more about the writing of the character. He's kind of split protagonist, so he doesn't have a full story, but because it's Hanks, he gives it enough gravitas that you kind of go with it. At least until the movie's foundation maybe falls apart toward the end.
Well, and I think that there are a lot of authors out there, and so I read or I listen to audiobooks when I swim sometimes, and I try to pick out audiobooks that are just like basically garbage, so that I can just kind of like, I might go swim like once a week, so like I'll quote read unquote these books for like an hour a week, put them down, pick them up, like kind of not be able to remember exactly what was going on. David Baldacci is an author that I really like for that kind of stuff. And I think that there are characters that are written purposefully vague in these books. Like, I think the main characters are just kind of like whatever, so that you, as a reader, bring your own thing to it, so that they're more palatable for like, what we sometimes might call like middle America, which is a little pejorative, but like people who aren't...
Nobody in middle America is listening to this podcast.
That could be true.
Although people in middle America love Tom Hanks.
And that's why I think he makes sense in this role from like a production standpoint. But like there are these characters that are just like, I don't know if there's that much to the character.
I think what you're trying... It's kind of like the Twilight Syndrome, where the main character in the Twilight books, Bella Swan, is like known for being like completely boring and blank slatey.
Right.
So you can put like the 14-year-old girls because I haven't read it, certainly, obviously, can put their own personalities into that and then indulge in the relationships. And here, with these mystery novels, it's like, we make him kind of a boring character so you can be...
Right, so you can be him.
You can be, he's your vessel character, which is kind of what we were saying earlier with, like, is he the main character, or is he just along for the ride and the audience surrogate?
Right.
And again, Tom Hanks is the perfect everyman. I guess that's the reason you cast him.
I get that.
So he's not miscast, just a bad character?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like...
He's like a Band-Aid actor in this movie. And I hate to say that because...
He's very talented.
He's so much better than that.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like... I guess if you're directing or if you're writing this kind of a movie, you have to, like... You're probably in a tough spot because I think you have to really take some liberty with the character to make it interesting for a film audience. But at the same time, this was, a really popular book series, or at least this one was a really popular book. And I kind of feel like you don't want to take too much liberty with it.
Yeah, you didn't want to make a firm claim the adaptation of the main character.
Yeah.
Was the claustrophobia stuff in the book? Do you remember?
I think so. I think it's more a part of the book. Yeah.
I mean, that would probably make sense.
It's just like a weird, like, they try to do it in, like, one of the first scenes he's in an elevator and he's kind of acting weird and you're like, why is this guy acting weird in an elevator? And then I think because they thought maybe people would wonder that, he has a line about, like, I'm claustrophobic in elevators or something.
No, actually, they don't bring it up. I don't think they bring it up immediately, and it's like...
Oh, it's just like... It's like...
I assumed that was the case, and then we see it again, like, when he's stuck in the van. And that's when he tells... he doesn't even actually. They hold that off forever because it's a plane, right? Ian McKellen actually tells her after the plane ride, because he was surprised.
Like, I'm surprised. Yeah, like he knew that. Like, yeah, that's such a weird thing.
Which is really because if he's the mastermind behind this whole thing, why did he know? Like, why did he wait until now to have Robert Langdon move on it? Like, there's a lot of weird chess pieces that don't. It's the fridge logic thing where again, like. Now that even a slight more time has passed since I've seen this movie, I'm liking it a little less. Again, I never said it was a good movie, but I had fun watching it.
Yeah, there's some fun elements to it.
But to bring it back to Hanks, I think you're right. I think he just doesn't have enough to work with in the movie. It's a flat character. They bring him in to make him as round as he can be. But what about?
I'm so curious I would love to know what he thinks about playing that character.
I would. I mean, he's played him twice after this, and he's shooting again. Or I don't know if he's probably done shooting now, but they have the new one coming out in October. But what about the hair?
The hair is nuts because it looks like a hairpiece, but I mean, look, if you want a wig that keeps them guessing. This is it, because it's either a really great wig but not good enough to look like real hair, or it's just the weirdest haircut like ever. It doesn't look like hair that he would ever grow in real life.
No, because he's got the very poofy vertical hair, and like it wouldn't go. I almost think it would afro before it goes back and hangs. And it's not like he got it straightened.
Right. What's funny to me is, like, there's something about this character, and I don't even remember it being described that way, but it felt like they, like, it's like, you're making a Harry Potter movie? Well, Harry Potter's got to have those glasses and the scar. Oh, Robert Langdon's going to be a character in your movie? Well, he's got to have his trademark, like, long, almost ponytailable, but not quite poof of a hair.
Is that a thing in the book?
I don't think so. I don't know why.
Because it's such a weird, distinctive, like, why would that ever come up in a book? Especially when the character's supposed to be so blank that you insert yourself.
Right.
Why would it be like, oh, but I've got my half mullet hair?
He's mullety.
It's weird. And that I think that might be the genius of this movie, is that this is the worst hair Tom Hanks has ever had in any of his movies, but it's the most memorable, maybe? Like,
because it's the worst.
Because you see... Tom Hanks has been in so many different kinds of movies, but if you see this one frame of this movie, you know it's this or Angels and Demons. Yeah. Because I think we said this before, but he doesn't even have that hair in the new movie. They went with more of a classic close cut for Hanks.
Great, yeah, that's what I want. I want classic Hanks.
I know, that's the best Hanks. But this, I love that this exists because it's so weird. It's not good, but I like that it's weird. but I don't know what's going on
When
with
did
the
that come out
hair.
again? It was
This
like
was
late 90s.
2006.
Oh my!
Because the book was 2003.
Oh yeah, that's right. I said that. I was reading. I literally dated when I was reading the book, and I'm like, when did this late 90s? It does feel like that though. 2006. Yeah.
Yeah. It's let's move on.
Yeah.
Audrey Tautou.
Huh.
Everybody loves her from Amelie, which is the
Right.
movie everybody cites as their favorite foreign film because nobody has seen any foreign films besides that. And
She's,
Shaun of the Dead.
she's fantastic in it.
She's-
Shaun of the Dead is a foreign film. I guess I get that.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite foreign film.
Okay. It's great. It's a great movie. She's kind of blank in it also.
They have very little to play with. Again, I think this is mostly, despite it being a best-selling book, I think it's mostly a writing problem. And then again,
Right.
that's not necessarily blaming the book. Writing a screenplay is very different, and I don't want to blame Akiva specifically because writing a screenplay doesn't necessarily mean that's in the movie.
Sure.
We already did our whole. You can't bitch about people who do things that are amazing compared to
Right. But then let us bitch about them.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, she's fine. I like her on screen. I don't. The thing with her is, I kind of saw the twist coming, but not in the fun, let's figure it out mystery way. And I don't know if that's just
what
because.
do you consider to be the twist with her?
Well, that she is the Jesus offspring, the bloodline.
Sure.
Like, was there another twist I'm forgetting?
No, I guess like I don't know if it almost feels like that's not a twist because it's like a twist to her.
But and, I mean, in the movie, nobody else knows this except for maybe Ian McKellen because he knows everything.
Right.
But it's certainly Robert Langdon doesn't. I mean, he figures it out, but
Right.
not until the very end. By that point, it's like, wait, we didn't know this.
Right.
It comes off, and I think that's more of a problem. Maybe it's, again, I have no idea. Maybe it's better in the book, but it's a problem when it's like, oh, we're talking about this thing, and it's going to be one of our 3 characters in the book, and we know we have to give Audrey Tautou something to do in this movie.
She just, I agree. There's not much, like the best characters in the movie are these like insane caricatures of people played by Paul Bettany or Alfred Molina.
The
or
Silas
Ian
dude.
McKellen. Yeah.
Who just whips himself, and it's like, whoa, this is a movie.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
I
would watch a whole movie that follows what Jean Reno's character does during this movie.
And I like that he gets a little redemption at the end. He's not evil. He just had the wrong information.
Yeah. He's just trying to do his job.
I mean, he's a little corrupted, obviously. But
Yeah, but he's just trying to do his job.
Yeah.
As a corrupt
as a corrupt,
Parisian
weird,
official.
cloaked society official. I wish I had more things to say about Audrey Tautou because she's good. She's just
I want to see.
not a lot to do.
I mean, this movie made me wonder how good of an actress she is because I didn't see The Very Long Engagement, which I heard she was very good in. But Amelie, because I don't speak the language, it's kind of just like Manic Pixie Dream Girl with a narrator.
Right, but I mean, at the very least, she's the main character.
Yeah, and I
in
love
that, and that's
Amelie,
great.
but
And
it's a lot about like
it is hard to tell in a foreign film. I mean, you can tell from the the body language, the movement, but the dialogue. It's obviously.
yeah, it's a little different. And then in this, she's just kind of, like kind of just not bad, just kind of like
going through the motions.
uninteresting. Yeah, I feel like everyone was just kind of like, hey, cool paycheck, great.
Yeah,
But no one stopped to be like, wait a second, why are we doing this? It's amazing to me. That's the other thing is this movie must have done well enough.
it was the second highest grossing movie that year.
What?
Yeah, it was right behind Dead Man's Chest.
Oh my goodness.
It was huge. But even at the time, I remember people saying it wasn't very good.
Wow.
Which is why it's gone to have 2 sequels.
Yeah, that's incredible to me. It's incredible to me that like for example, like Guillermo del Toro is having such a hard time making Pacific Rim 2.
I know. I
That
love
movie
Pacific Rim.
Is so holy shit, that movie's fun.
I love that movie.
I watched that movie, like I was homesick one day and I just like rented it, not really knowing much about it, and hot damn, that's a fun movie.
Oh, you didn't get to see it in the theater?
No,
That
that
moment
would've
where
been
the
cool.
fucking thing grows wings, I lost it.
It's just really fun.
It's so great.
So and this has 2 sequels. Well, let's talk about Fred Molina, as people call him, who are friends of his.
Like you.
I wish, man. Oh my god. He's fine. I mean, I guess let's go through the actors. Like Jean Reno, fine. Not in the movie a ton. I just like him a bunch.
The only other one I really gonna have something to say
let's
about.
talk about Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you don't give a shit for his performance in this movie.
Well, I mean, he's playing such an unreal character.
Like, again, more problem with the writing. But again, is it that unreal when this guy has played a wizard that comes back from the dead and also a dude who can control metal? Of course, that makes more sense because you understand his motivations.
Yeah, those characters felt like the characters had meat on them.
They were real. It was just an unreal world. I get it. No, I totally understand. But here's what I have to say in defense of Ian McKellen.
Okay.
The time I kind of saw this movie was probably back right after it came out on DVD the first time.
Okay.
So 2006 range. After it was in theaters, and I was away at a girlfriend's, at the time, her family's cabin, and they were all watching.
They don't have the cabin anymore.
No, I don't even know if they exist anymore. They were watching the Da Vinci Code, and we were in the other room kind of making out.
Okay.
And I remember hearing the Da Vinci Code. And even then, I could, just through hearing it, it's like, oh, it's going to be Magneto's the bad guy. And that was the only thing.
Oh, like as soon as he appears, you're like, all right, wait, who?
Yeah, he's totally the bad guy. And I remember that scene where he goes on and on, taking forever. And those were the 2 things I remembered from the movie. And cut to today, and I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, about half an hour in, maybe 40 minutes, I was like, oh, maybe Ian McKellen is in the sequel? Maybe it was Angels and Demons they were watching? I don't remember. And then he shows up, and it's like, oh, okay, he wasn't, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And he goes on to do this, like, I was like, wait, he's the bad guy, right? And his whole over-the-top performance as, like, this super friendly dude, I bought it. He tricked me. I knew he was the bad guy.
Really?
And then I totally blinked. No, wait, I remembered it wrong. Like, and it totally was because when he's super over the top when Tom Hanks shows up and he's doing his whole spiel about Mary Magdalene and whatnot. I think that works both in universe because it's like, of course he's playing it up because he's trying to be
right,
and which makes perfect sense. He gets still a little hammy at the end when he's like, oh, we have to find out, and he's yelling at him from the cop car.
That's insane. And then like the time when he kills
his driver.
The driver, like that also is like
The Vision, Paul Bettany.
yes, it's just a little
Yeah, that was the moment where I was like, wait, so I was right? I mean, again,
so a lot of our issues are the story.
it's more the stuff because again, his performance made me buy it.
Okay,
I
guess,
and when
I don't disagree.
When it came out, or when it was revealed that no, he is the bad guy, it felt more like a cheat than a. Or not, maybe not a cheat, but it was like, oh, this is the choice.
I think that's kind of going back to my issue with the second half of the movie. Everything that should be a reveal feels like a fuck you. Like it just feels like, oh, all right, like like you're pulling the rug out from under the reality, or you're insulting the audience.
I understand that's a whole part of. Like, this is the genre. This is why we're going, because we want this, like, no, wait, it's this. No, wait, it's this. But, like, when...
But this is no Ocean's 11. This is no Usual Suspects. This is not... It's not... Like, there are movies like that where the whole... You know, it was Kaiser Sose, the whole... Like, what verbal... Like, the whole time... Oh, my God. Like, that's amazing. Like, that kind of stuff... It has to be brilliant. And this was written...
This was the B- version of that.
Yes.
And thus it suffers by comparison so much more because the thing it's supposed to do is make you feel smart or make you totally surprised. And instead it kind of makes you feel like, oh, so of course she's the Jesus girl.
I'm going to say it. I bet a lot of dumb people love this movie.
I think you're right. I think that's why it's done so successful.
Yeah.
It's probably the kind of movie where it's smart enough that you feel smart for watching it, but you're not
Yeah.
actually, because it's figuring out that again, that's my biggest problem with it, is it doesn't let you play its game. It makes you watch the game.
That makes me angry.
So in that sense, I don't really respect what the movie is doing, despite being the guy who's here to defend the movie.
Yeah, this is it's a tough one for, you know what? I mean, look, I hate this movie, but I think that I feel a little guilty in that it's not the best Hanks, and he's so good that it makes me sad.
It's true.
He probably got an awesome payday for this. He probably took his family. I mean, look, okay, you gotta imagine.
He deserves a payday every once in a while.
Of course, I would be fine if he took more of them. And, like, I would still love him as much if he was in more shitty movies like this. But you also have to imagine, like...
Well, he is, actually.
He is, I know. But, like, this movie, Tom Hanks probably makes this movie. First of all, he gets to go to Europe. He probably takes his family to Europe.
Hang out with Audrey Tautou and Ian
Yeah,
McKellen.
Ian
Like,
McKellen.
that was the best part of the movie, was seeing these two go.
Those people, like, that's fun. And then he probably, all the money he made off of that, he probably donated a chunk of it to charity and probably bought all kinds of people in his life nice things, and or invested it in getting to make a movie that he really was excited about. I'm glad this movie exists, but I still don't think it's very good.
I like, it's fine that it exists. It's just, I think it's a problem when it's again, like, yeah, can I really respect it if it's all it's doing is it's pretending to be smart?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not making, maybe the book is smart because it actually...
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, the book is...
But there's a place in the world for pulpy,
Yeah.
smart-esque.
Yeah.
It's I was gonna say Frasier, but Frasier's actually really smart, really good. What's a show or like a movie that it feels smart?
Oh, that feels smart but isn't smart?
Yeah. Because that's what this is. And I think you're probably right in that, like, the less... but the people who don't realize you can actively watch movies, that's who this is for. Because they still want that aha moment.
So here's another way of spinning it, because I was just thinking of some other Ron Howard movies and not wanting to sound insulting. Because I think, like, that point of view is in some ways like a really elitist, really, like, artsy kind of feeling. And I think that I agree with what you're saying, though. Mm-hmm. But I think that's...
And I realize that I'm incredibly artsy-fartsy and elitist.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I think I'm realizing over the last, like, year especially, like, I'm kind of an elitist about a lot of things, too. But so the other side to that coin is, like, this is enjoyable for all your friends and cousins and family, and, like...
That sounds so condescending.
But it's not, though. Like, do movies have to really push the boundary and... be innovative, and, like, do all movies have to be art, or can they just be whatever?
I mean, that comes down to a fundamental reason of what is the purpose of story, or maybe what is the purpose of art.
I think it should be. I think it should push people.
I think it's, yeah, that's the whole reason we have stories, is it's the way we learn, it's the way we grow empathy. Obviously, entertainment's a huge part of it, and that's usually how we kind of packaged in the spoonful of sugar sort of thing. What are we to give the movie a little bit more defense? Let's talk about maybe the last topic. And what is this movie trying to say? Does it have anything to say? And one of the questions I wanted to pose was, is there any evidence of the divine in this movie? Like, it makes the case that Jesus really existed and she's really of his bloodline, but they don't necessarily... They leave a couple hints, but it's not... Does it give us definitive answer of whether or not that means Jesus is God? And I pulled out 3 potential moments.
Okay.
They explain away he's lost his claustrophobia because of her touch. She healed him when she puts her hands on his head, and then he doesn't have these fears anymore.
Mm-hmm. Also, the calming touch of a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Could be that.
Good point. I would feel better if Audrey Tautou put her hands on my head.
Yeah, you're being comforted by someone. But sure. Yeah, you're right. That is a point that's made.
That's a textual evidence. There's the blood at the end that turns into the trident. It's basically he's shaving, and the movie's over, and then he's shaving, and then a little splat of blood hits a specific shape in the sink, and he's like, wait a minute, I got it wrong, and then he goes to the Prime Meridian, the Rose line.
Oh, I didn't get... Wait, but does that have to do with it being a trident? Or he's just like, oh yeah, blood is red?
I
isn't
I remember it looked like a specific shape, and I thought it would look like a trident, but they had, because in his first scene he mentions a trident as being one of the symbols, although it's for Poseidon. I don't know why that would be the symbol.
So it just kind of happens to remind him of...
It might be, and I'm probably butchering this, it probably looks like something else. I just thought it looked like a trident. But it jogs his memory, and then he figures out where she's really buried. So the blood taking a specific shape, that could be some sort of divine intervention. But the moment that stood out the most for me, and the one I'm completely confused by, is when they're held at gunpoint by Paul Bettany, the driver, and he's about to shoot them, and then just a bird flies, and it's this weird jump cut, and then he misses. He's like startled by a bird that's maybe 10 feet above him, and then he like completely misses the gun, and they have like 19 feet to clear before they're behind a corner or something, and they just get away super conveniently.
Oh.
Now,
Okay.
is that because they're in a church and it's like, oh, God's helping them,
Yeah.
and helping them escape, or is it because the driver's actually working for Ian McKellen? He took him out, and this is another double cross to get them to where he wants them to be. But why would they do that
So
anyway?
you're taking a lot of moments that feel like sloppy filmmaking and suggesting that they are an argument for divine intervention.
Yes, my question is this divine intervention or lazy screenwriting? Because I could actually see both. Especially...
I love the idea of this movie and this story. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much is like, you know, it references all of these different things. And like, you can go back and look at all these things in history and art history that support the conspiracy theory of this book.
I could totally see the Catholic Church being like, "Oh, we don't want to share this power."
That's
too.
what. Oh, yeah. And when the movie came out, or when the book came out, there was a lot of stuff from the Catholic Church about like, well, hold on a second, and I think that's one thing that's so incredibly well done about the story, more in the book, but also in the film, where it takes real things that happened and it weaves its own narrative in between them to make a conspiracy theory out of it. I think that's really fun.
Oh my god. I just realized the other Tom Hanks movie this one has the most in common with, besides its sequels, by that description, is Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
Absolutely.
That also explains why general audiences love this movie.
Yeah.
It's that thing I know, and here's what it really means. I feel
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. It Forrest Gump's a conspiracy into all of Western art history.
I do... To go kind of back to, like, is there something of value in the movie? What's it trying to say? I do kind of appreciate the sense in that, theoretically, the characters are, by discovering the truth, they're on the side of, like, taking away this weird... sexist, classist, racist power patriarchy source. So that's right, but then they kind of end the movie with like, no, we gotta keep the truth hidden. So it's like, he kind of ends it on like, what's important is what you believe. So it's like, no, it's about faith
Right, that's
anyway.
also super unsatisfying.
It's very unsatisfying because it's also very muddied because it's like we're fighting for this, but then we kind of just back away from it.
Right.
You can't have your cake and eat it too in this kind of a thing.
Although that's what they do. Ron Howard and Brian Grazer do that in this movie.
And I feel bad because I love those guys.
Yeah.
Splash is amazing. Go listen to the
We gotta
Splash
watch
podcast.
Splash,
Watch Splash. One of our best. One of his best. Grinch is good. I think I like Grinch better than this. I take that back what I said earlier.
Yeah.
Grinch is way better. Maybe. And I want to like Ron Howard more than I seem to like most of his movies.
Same. Yeah.
And
I would be mortified if he ever... I mean, clearly I'm covering my ass for this reason, but if he ever somehow found his way to this podcast and listened to it, I would feel awful because I feel like I've not seen all of his work, and I feel like the work I've seen, I'm just like cutting it down.
I think Ron Howard could take a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
I think he's fine.
All right.
But seriously, you're great, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Where do we come down on this movie? Forrest Gump of Jesus?
Yeah, it's the Forrest Gump of Jesus and art history. Here's what you should do, is you should watch this movie is an hour and 49 minutes. That's very long. It's nearly an hour longer than it should be, at least.
And there's an hour of it is just spent with Ian McKellen telling you the trailer that you watched.
I think that what you should do is ask a friend or a significant other before you watch this movie, like, hey, come get me in an hour and a half and let's go grab a bite or something. And watch the movie and then forget to watch the end of it. Like, just watch the first half to 2/3 and be like, oh yeah, I never finished that movie, but it was like pretty fun. And you'll have a good feeling about it. And don't finish it.
I think I'm going to agree. My take is, I love Hanks. I'm happy everybody got a paycheck here. I feel like it's not doing enough to warrant its own existence. It's just kind of cookie cutter. Let's make something that feels smart, but doesn't really try to do anything with it.
Right.
And it's the material here. And again, this is the book seems, by your account. It seems to be doing the exact same lazy thing where it's like it's got all this material too, even if it's complete bullshit and it's not trying to actually advocate a conspiracy, it has this material to really say something profound. And it just completely falls flat. It's not
it's a lot of
sure-footed.
work.
And if you want the best that this movie has to offer, seriously watch the South Park Easter holiday special.
Fun. I saw that recently and I was like, wow, it's almost exactly this movie.
It's so great, and
it's really funny.
I never even realized it was parodying this movie until I watched this movie today.
Oh yeah, it's beat for beat.
It's
in some
great.
senses.
And that because in South Park you don't care when like the Ian McKellen character shows up and tells them everything for no reason.
Right.
Plus Jesus actually shows up. It's great.
Oh yeah, because you can do that with animation. Mm-hmm. In case anyone cared, I just want to real quick tell my Brian Grazer story. It's kind of a letdown, but in case anyone was like, "Oh yeah, they never mentioned that thing."
Well, Brian Grazer's going to want to know who you are because he's listening to the podcast.
He should already know who I am because I made a point of telling him. He was one of the speakers at my film school graduation, and I was sitting next to two friends of mine, Justin Michael, who I was on a sketch group with at the time and do a lot of comedy stuff with. He's the other host of Before You Were Funny. And this other friend of ours, Alex Garcia, who had been in a bunch of our videos. And we were like, you know what? We got Brian Grazer here. We're all going to go like get our diploma, shake his hand, shake the other guy's hand. I forget who it was now. Oh, it was, I think it was Eisner.
Michael Eisner?
Yeah, I think it was either Eisner or Iger.
Bob Iger.
Yeah, and
one of the Disney kids.
One of the Disney, suits, and then Brian Grazer, and I had this idea of like when we meet him, when we shake their hands, let's look in their eyes and say tremendosaur.com because that was the website for our sketch group. Because like if one person did that, you'd be like, "The fuck was that?" and you wouldn't remember what they said. But if 3 people did it in a row, you'd be like, the fuck is this thing? Like, you'd probably look it up. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. But just the curiosity gap, I think you would have to look it up. So we talked about it. We all agreed, like, yes, that's what we're going to do. We get up there, and I went first, and I did it. And I like, held his hand for uncomfortably long, and I looked into his eyes. He was like, congratulations. And I just said tremendosaur.com as if I had traveled there from the future and was like assaulting him with like, you must remember this one thing. Like I really said it and it made him uncomfortable. And then I said it to Eisner. And I remember as I was walking away from them, Eisner like went over, like kind of leaned over to Brian Grazer and was like, what was that? Like they were like, what the fuck just happened? But then my 2 friends didn't do it.
Of course they didn't do it.
So it was just me. And they probably thought I was some kind of like psychopath, which arguably in that moment I kind of was.
I can't believe you did that.
I can't believe I did
That's
it
insane.
Either. It's something an insane person would do.
Like even if they looked at like what would that do? It's like, oh, these guys are really fun. Let's put them in a movie.
Yeah, I don't know what the hope would be. Like let's get them like somewhere in my mind. It was like. Oh, they call his secretary and be like, I don't know what it is, but look up tremendosaur.com or tell me about it. Or He would look it up on his like very brand new smartphone, maybe if he had one at that time. And then what? Like, offer us a deal or something? Like, I don't know what the outcome was.
You guys could have been the London cops in this movie.
Yeah, we could have been.
So if you want more from Jacob Reed, check out tremendosaur.com.
Oh my god, I don't even know what's up there anymore. Because we haven't released videos. Oh, I think maybe we put like some of our best stuff up there. Are we at the plugs section?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, plug away. I think we've said all we can say about the Da Vinci Code.
I don't think there's anything more to say.
That's the problem with the movie. It doesn't have enough to say for us to talk about it for any longer.
And yet it's almost 3 hours long.
And this podcast is getting longer by the minute. We'll be back for Angels and Demons at some point. But Jacob, it's been a blast talking to you. Where can they find you besides tremendosaur.com?
Oh my gosh! So Before You Were Funny is the podcast I do. It's on Feral Audio. If you look up on iTunes Before You Were Funny, and it's
he's from a Big Boy podcast.
It's a fun podcast. Yeah, we've had some cool guests. It's a really fun podcast to do, and I think it's really interesting if you ever are interested in like kind of inside baseball stuff in the world of comedy or writing, or want to be a comedy writer. It's basically,
if you're the kind of person who didn't like this movie, it's perfect for you.
Yeah, probably. So what it is my friend Justin and I, we invite some of our favorite comedians and friends and a lot of people from the UCB community, but also, more famous people and, writers, actors, whatever. And we have them send us some of their earliest material. And then we read through it like a table read on the show, but just this awful, early, embarrassing stuff. And then we kind of talk about, like, we read it for what it is, which is funny because it's bad. But we also kind of talk about why they thought it was funny then and how comedy tastes evolve. And sometimes it gets a little, I mean, at the most surface level, it's like really silly and dumb and fun. But occasionally it has like little twinkles of introspection that I think are really interesting.
And if you're in the LA area, UCB?
Oh, yeah, go see Bangering. Friday nights at 8 o'clock at UCB Franklin. It's a real fun show. I've been doing it for 6 years with some of the most talented people I've ever met. And it's great. Also, this plug section is like, for sure people are still not listening.
This
right?
is the longest plug I think we've ever had.
Yeah, we like went in and out of conversations. Maybe you should just edit it all out and just use like a little snippet.
Well, do you have a Twitter, or have you finally anything there?
Anything else anyone wants?
Anything else you want to plug?
I'm on Twitter at Jacob Reed. I have an Instagram. It's Typography Nerd. I post.
My god, such a nerd.
I don't know, man.
This is good. We're recreating the feeling of the movie by having the end of the podcast just
rambly. I had such a long day today too, so it's like 3 false endings. I'm like totally out of it. For a weird, like for no reason, I want to plug a web series I made called Hugo to the Movies, where we compare everything to the movie Hugo. It feels like a weird kind of tangentially related to this podcast. There's 12 episodes. Any Tom Hanks movies in there? I don't think so.
Not interested then.
Yeah, I know, right? Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing else. I'm sorry.
No. This is great. This is great.
I made the end of this. I think that's why I did it, is to make you feel like you were on board at first, and then it just got kind of like a little rambly and preachy and was telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what this movie's like.
Yeah. Well, to bring it back, now that we've gotten rid of the Audrey Tautou of the podcast, I'll end it real quick. Follow the show, TomHanksPod, on Twitter. Email us. What did you think of the Da Vinci Code? Do you think it's smart and we're being condescending assholes? What of Jacob's million plugs did you find the most enjoyable? Tell us at tomhankspod@gmail.com. I'm at Elvis Kunesh across all social media platforms. Next week, I think we're talking about the great Buck Howard.
Do you think Tom Hanks is just Tom Hanks at Gmail?
Oh my god, I'm gonna try that!
I think it could be.
Thanks for listening.
Tom Hanks, we fell in love with you, Tom Hanks, just like so many do deeply, because you made us smile, and you're great on-screen style, so that's why we give thanks, 'cause you've got a friend in Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks. Tom